Hello and welcome to the Tech and Sports Podcast. Tech and Sports is a show about how technology is revolutionizing all the major sports as well as health and fitness. You can find it on your podcast service of choice. My name is Alex Radu and I'm here with the extraordinary Mandy Kovacs.
Hello.
First off, we hope everyone is having a lovely holidays. This week we'll be doing things a bit differently because we are in fact pre-recorded.
Yep.
So we'll be skipping out on the latest news this week just because we don't know it. So in case some robot for some reason took over a professional league, maybe Christmas Day football was taken over by aliens, alien robots.
What about Bane and Batman?
That's true.
Right?
I don't know.
Wasn't it in the Steelers stadium?
I think it was just some made-up belief.
Whatever.
Maybe, I don't know where it was filmed, but yeah.
Whatever. Kind of cool anyways.
Yeah, so we don't know. So if robots have attacked, then actually I don't even know if you'll be able to listen to this.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the world has ended and it's the apocalypse already.
We do not know.
I don't
know. If it hasn't, we'll be back next week with the news. But for this episode, we'll be making our predictions for what we think some of the big sports tech trends for 2018 will be. But before we get into that, just a little bit of housekeeping as always. We would really appreciate it if you would review, rate the Tech and Sports Podcast on iTunes, Google Play, wherever else you get your podcast. It really does help us grow the show, and we really, really, really appreciate it. All the support.
Yes, we do.
And if you have a topic that you'd like to see us explore on the show, or a news story, or impossibly hard trivia, you can email us at techandsports@itwc.ca, and we'll be sure to incorporate it on the podcast. You can also tweet at us. I'm at Alex T. Radu. Mandy's at Mandy V. Kovacs.
Yep.
That's the right one. So with that, sit back and relax, because the Tech and Sports crew is entering the game. All right, so we're hopping right into the discussion.
Yeah.
So, Mandy, we've both made two predictions on what we think will be trending in the sports tech world in 2018. How about you start with your first prediction?
Sure. So, I looked at what sport events are coming up, and pretty noticeable right away is that the World Cup is happening in Russia this coming summer. And we've talked about how slow soccer is to adopt technology like video replay, and I think that this will become an even bigger deal in 2018. So FIFA has said that video replay will be used in the World Cup, but soccer fans have long been against the idea, saying that it slows down the game and that it takes away some of the drama that usually comes from controversial calls about goals, red cards, and penalties. So I'm predicting in 2018 that video replay in soccer will be a really big story, and bigger than it already was in 2017. But what I'm interested in seeing, though, is why it'll be a big story, whether it's for positive or negative reasons. So, Alex, do you agree? Do you think that it'll be a big story because fans maybe finally come around to the technology and like the benefits it brings, like accurate calls, or because they hate it and think that it messes up the flow of games or even ruins a team's chances of moving forward?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think it's going to have, some real calls. We always go back to the reason why this happened in the first place, which was the Panama and Costa Rica game, which Panama was awarded the game-winning goal because the ref mistakenly thought the ball went over the goal line, and it takes a 5-second replay to see that it did not.
Right. And the U.S. did not make it as a result.
U.S. did not make the World Cup because of that. Again, not because of solely that reason.
Yeah, they just didn't play well.
So, if a call like that happens, Costa Rica fans couldn't even be angry because that was not a goal. It very clearly was not a goal.
It did not cross the goal line.
It should not have crossed the goal line. You'd be upset in we should have scored. Oh my God, I'm upset that we didn't score.
Right.
Not, I'm upset because of video replay. Even though I'm sure people would blame video replay for it.
Of course.
But I think you're then also probably going to have some controversial call where it took 20 minutes and then it's that for some reason then you have the first half it's 45 minutes plus 20.
Yeah. Well, I think that they did set the rules so that it can only be used to check goals, I believe. And literally I think that's it. I don't even think it can be used for offsides or red cards, or maybe red cards, but not offsides or anything like that. So It is limited, which might placate some fans.
And I think that's where you have to go with video replay. Because I do enjoy the human aspect of it. I mean, it does make controversial calls are fun. It does make for, I guess it's easier to say that when you're not involved at all. You have no side to take.
Yeah.
And with Romania nor the U.S. making the World Cup this
Canada.
summer, or Canada, I'm all for it. I mean, you go Team Iceland, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's both. I think it's just as likely that nothing will happen as something huge will happen.
Yeah.
But something will happen.
I agree. And I think it'll be coming from European fans as well, because video replay has been used in the MLS for a couple of years now, off and on. So I think North America has gotten used to it, especially with basketball fans and
just
hockey fans.
All sports in North America use it. So
yeah, so it'll definitely come from the European side, and I do think that their reaction will be negative.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
No one likes change.
No, I mean, who does?
Yeah. All right, so my first prediction is, in 2018, Mandy, as you probably can guess, we're going to talk a lot about concussions still.
What?
I know
No way.
It's a super hot take.
I don't know if I believe that.
So we talk about concussions all the time on this podcast because it really is the biggest problem in most major sports. And I mean, the health of our favorite athletes is just super important. So kind of the question is, what do we think is going to happen in 2018 with concussions? So I kind of picked two things. Will NFL players adopt new helmets? The big story is Alex Smith of the Kansas City Chiefs, who has been using a specialized helmet to prevent concussions this season. He's one of the few. I want to say Russell Wilson
Yes.
is also using something
Yes.
from the Seattle Seahawks. But so that's 2 out of 32 in the NFL. How many QBs do you think will, and this is not any other position, because every team should, every player should. But how many QBs? Because those are those are usually the faces of a lot of these franchises. And how many QBs of the 32? What do you think the percentage is going to be in the 2018 season that'll start next fall?
Honestly, I don't know if you're going to get more than those two. Like, I definitely don't see a lot of the older, more legacy quarterbacks putting these helmets on. Like, I don't think Tom Brady will switch. I really don't.
Or like Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees.
Yeah, like, I really don't think any of those guys are going to change their habits now. As much as I think that they should, because older people, I think, are more susceptible to this. They get injured easily. I mean, that's just a fact of the human body.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see maybe... if a couple of, like, the top draft picks are then put in positions where they're a quarterback for a game or two, or if someone gets hurt and they're now first string instead of second string type of thing, I could see maybe, like, a whole new generation bringing these helmets in. But I don't know.
I think it depends. For instance, if, like, Deshaun Watson can come back for the Texans, if Tom Savage is still, he shouldn't be, the lead quarterback for the Houston Texans, you saw terrible images of him actively getting concussions this season. So you'd hope that a guy like him would. And then you kind of have to look at, I agree with your point about the younger guys. You got to look at the QBs of, like, Carson Wentz on the Philadelphia Eagles, Jared Goff on the Rams. See if these guys are willing, Deshaun Watson for the Texans, if these guys are willing to use these types of helmets and maybe prevent some injuries. I mean, both Wentz and Watson were both out with ACL injuries, so that whole knee thing is a different problem. But it'd be interesting to see if they're willing to maybe prevent future concussions. So we'll see. I would go. I'm gonna make the fact that this is a bold prediction that I'm gonna say 10 of the 32 is kind of shows how the craziness of the situation. But I'm gonna say 10 QBs.
I'll say 4. Because it just came to me. I think Cam Newton is a type of guy that would switch, right? Because he's a young guy. I don't want to say cool, because that's not the right word. He also has concussion
problems.
Yeah, he has concussion problems, but he's also, like, he's a very charitable guy. He's really into, like, cultural trends and stuff. And this is a cultural trend, right? Of caring more about player safety and how concussions are dealt with in such a massive league that has ignored the problem for way too long. So I could see someone like Cam Newton maybe transitioning.
Gotcha. All right. So I'm at 10 QBs. Yeah. You're at 4 QBs.
Yeah.
Oh, we're both very optimistic.
Yeah, really.
And so then another question for the NHL. We've talked about concussion spotters and how terrible they are, how much they're a waste, how it is not helping anybody.
Straight garbage.
Will the NHL fix concussion spotters in 2018?
I hope so. I don't know how actually optimistic I am about them changing the rules. But again, it's been a really big discussion this season. Marc-Andre Fleury was not pulled from his game, that he got his concussion when he absolutely should have. He's been out for, I think, almost 2 months now. He just came back. So I think they're definitely going to talk about it at the next GM meeting, which I want to say is early next season. And then they have another one usually in the summer where they, like, finalize plans. So I could see them at least moving in the right direction.
So I'm going to make it a little simpler of a question. If you had $1,000 to bet, yes or no, they're going to change it, where do you go? I would put my money that they don't. Because the NHL has never proved once to me that they are logical, that they are smart thinking, and that they are able to actually make change.
Oh God, this sounds bad, but I think if there's one more major concussion in the league before the playoffs, then yes, I would put $1,000 on them changing it. But I mean, like, that takes like another, like a Sidney Crosby, a Patrick Kane, an Austin Matthews,
Connor McDavid.
Right. If any of like the top maybe 50 players get a concussion in the league at some point for the end of the season, then yes, I think they will change something. But it's going to take a big name like that to actually move them.
It's very fun.
Which sucks.
It's very fun how the NHL needs to be just react to it.
Right.
And they're not going to be preventative.
Yeah, a reactive approach is absolutely the wrong way to go with this.
Yeah, I mean, hey, and this is the problem, I think, with a lot of these leagues, is that the NFL and the NHL have never proved once that we should believe in them actually looking out for player safety.
Yeah.
And that sucks, and it sucks that we have that opinion, but it's going to take a long time for both of these professional leagues to actually convince me that they care.
Right, and like this is something that the NHL Players Association would be fighting for, I would assume, but I think right now they have their hands full with not going to the Olympics. Like, that's a bigger pressing issue going into the new year, right? Because, I mean, we're not going, and I think a lot of players are really unhappy about that. So, unfortunately, I think that they really only have the mindset of one problem at a time.
Although, that decision is made entirely much easier by the Russian team not actually being able to play.
Yeah, that's true. So who knows what'll happen in the Olympics.
So, while that would be quite interesting, that takes away one of the big rivalries in that Olympics. So
yeah, that's fair.
We'll see.
This could be the best year to actually have this happen.
I guess.
Right. All right. So my second prediction should come as no surprise for anyone who has listened to our podcast before, because I'm a huge proponent of robots in sports, and particularly baseball. So I'm predicting that the MLB will have a real discussion about implementing digital strategies, and that we'll see a robot calling the strike zone in an official game at some point in the season, or at the very least the league announcing that it would try testing out the technology maybe in the following season. So this is kind of crazy, I know, but I'm not really expecting it to be every game or anything, but more of like a one-off pilot project type of thing, just to see how well it actually works, how fans react to it, how the players react to it. Because, I mean, like, my perspective is that it would totally improve the game. The strike zone is completely always in flux, depending on what umpire you have standing behind the plate. So, I don't know. Everyone secretly loves the drama that controversial calls make, but I just want to see a better game with accurate calls made, especially in the playoffs, where one error can change the entire momentum. So, I don't know, Alex, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if we'll see, like, an actual robot umpire, but I can see sensors playing a much bigger role. Like, I know, like,
that better,
I know, like, the robot thing would be awesome, and it's a fun prediction to make. Like, it's a cool prediction. And I think we'll get that at some point.
Yeah,
I don't think it's completely out of the question for 2018.
I should have phrased that better. Yeah, I don't necessarily mean like an actual like robot standing behind the plate. Like, I mean like putting in the sensors in place so that it's robotically called, you know, so that you don't have a human standing behind the catcher.
Yeah, or like, yeah, I think like, especially when you look at things like hockey, or even like football, like you look at this past weekend, the Pats and Steelers game, or 2 weekends ago, sorry, when this episode comes out.
Yeah, fair.
Just even putting how come there aren't any sensors in the football that prevent coaches, like prevent like awful calls, and like having to measure things with like whatever size paper is in like on the ref's hand.
Right.
So I think it's just very I think we'll really start to see sensors start to pick up this year.
I agree. I think Internet of Things devices are going to be huge in sports this year. Yeah. And I think it'll start with baseball.
100%. I think baseball needs it the most.
Agreed.
I mean, I think all sports need it. But, I'm surprised that a lot of sports haven't adopted tennis's video replay type stuff, their technology. Like, granted, it's a smaller court. It's a lot easier. But like tennis has done that in a way where it's not like it's not questionable. Like it takes like 10 seconds. Everyone has a cool clap when they do it, and then it just shows where the ball landed.
Yeah,
and it's perfect. It's so easy.
Well, that's Hawkeye technology. If I'm correct in that title. And I actually read an interview with the founder of it. I can't remember what his name is now, but he was saying that it's not applicable to football in particular because you need to be able to see the ball. So football, I mean, they're literally hugging it. It would never work. But baseball,
hockey.
Yeah, baseball, hockey, that could work. Basketball, even to an extent. I mean, unless you're traveling with the ball, Well,
although basketball also wouldn't necessarily have the same issues in that regard.
No, but it would even work in soccer too, right? I mean, it's not that that's the big a deal, the controversy of kicking a ball out of bounds, but I mean, it could help, right? Anything to streamline the game.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, so my second and the last prediction we'll be talking about today is about smartwatches. I think they're going to finally hit their stride in 2018. I made this prediction last year, and I was wrong. Willing to admit that. But I'm absolutely certain that it will happen in 2018. Because a big problem for smartwatches and wearable devices on wrists in general, I think was solved this year. I think there was this kind of impression before 2017 that smartwatches were still just kind of nifty accessories. It was it wasn't necessary, it didn't add too much. If you wanted it, it would be cool, but it's not.
A very niche thing, right?
Yeah, it's a niche thing. But then Apple kind of changed the game when they included LTE on the new Apple Watch.
That's huge.
On the Apple Watch Series 3. So this has kind of changed the conversation. So smartwatches are kind of no longer just fun accessories that you can tie to your smartphone. The argument now is that they're medical devices and necessary for health and fitness. So the latest versions of all of these smartwatches that have come out have much better health and fitness updates that include constant heart monitoring. The example I always use is with blood pressure and heart rate. A smartwatch is a really great tool for you to easily monitor your vitals, and I think in 2018 we're going to see a lot more people get involved just for the health and fitness reason.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just because it's it's cool, you get to make calls or see music or see your texts and notifications on your watch, but because if you have high blood pressure, if you need to monitor your body, it's a lot easier to do it, and it really can help you in that sort of regard. Plus, we don't know, with wearables in sports, like we talked about last week, the Apple Watch and the Red Sox and stuff like that. The NBA team this year, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're sponsored by Fitbit for 3 years. They have the Fitbit logo on their jersey, and they use Fitbit outside of games. So, Mandy, do you think that professional leagues will get on board with wearables this year, or do you think that's just probably never going to happen?
I do think they will, at least behind the scenes. Again, I don't know if a lot of these teams are going to get on board and actually share this data with fans, because to some extent, I don't think fans really need to know that. I don't think they need to know the heart rate or the blood pressure of, Austin Matthews, for example. But I definitely think that almost all teams and almost every single North American sports league will be on board with wearables. I agree with that.
I would argue that they already are.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that are ahead of the game, the leaders of the pack, are definitely, way ahead of the pack. There are definitely some that are still very legacy-based and are nervous of new technology, but I think this is, the turning point. I think everyone does agree that these are medical devices now and that they're useful to a lot of different training regimens, so I can see it.
Completely with you there.
Yeah. All right, well, that wraps up our discussion this week. Once again, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Mandy V. Kovacs, and Alex is at Alex T. Radu. You can also email us at
techandsports@itwc.ca.
Yes. Thank you for listening, everyone, and I guess we'll see you in the new year.
Yeah, I hope everyone has a happy holidays.
Bye.